Management of Nigeria chartered. Keynote speaker, Professor Armstrong Idachaba, Professor of Media and Broadcasting Communication. Panelist, Professor Chris Ochonogo, Immediate Past Head of Department, Journalism and Media Studies, University of Port Harcourt. Dr. E. Secretary, NUJ, Dr. Sarah Joe, University Orator and Associate Dean, Faculty of Communication and Media, River State University, Port Harcourt. Dr. Ibiere Koki, Ignatius Aju University of Education, Rumolomini, Port Harcourt. Chief host, Dr. Chinyere Igwe, Esquire, Chairman, Morrison Group. Date, Tuesday, 10th March 2026. Venue, Gate Place Hotel, Kilometer 5, East West Obirikwere Flyover, Rumosi, Port Harcourt. Time, 10 a.m. For more information, please call Kainde Paul Obofadi 081 063 41777 or Samuel Ajinwo at 090 454 00744. Signed, Management.
Television Network. Welcome to Global News. First, the highlights. Assembly confirms Peter Akpai as Bayelsa State Deputy Governor. Tinubu names Tunji Disu acting senators. Reps shifts plenary resumption to March 5. Pengasan to meet Presidential Committee Wednesday. Police arrest 2 Ugandan women for kissing in public. Senegal criticizes jail sentence for football fans in Morocco. Actor Okemesi in coma over drugs complication. Welcome back. Akpai as the new Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State. The confirmation followed deliberations during plenary on Tuesday after Akpai arrived at the Assembly complex, accompanied by supporters who chanted congratulatory slogans. In recognition of his previous service as a former majority leader of the House, lawmakers asked him to take a bow and live in line with parliamentary tradition. He is a seasoned administrator and politician. Akpai holds a PhD in Administration and Planning from the University of Port Harcourt and has served as head of administration in the office of the Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State, Commissioner in the Bayelsa State House of Assembly Service Commission, and leader of the House in the Bayelsa State House of Assembly. Beyond public service, Akpai is a pastor, and part-time lecturer at the Redeemed Christian Bible College, Ede, Osun State, and hails from Ebed-Debiri community in the Shagma local government area, the same area as his predecessor. Magistrates in Cross River State have suspended their strike following the The chairman of the Magistrates Association of Nigeria Cross River Chapter, Mr. Godwin Ona, disclosed this in Calabar, adding that magistrates in Cross River resumed their strike on February 8 over alleged welfare issues and the state government's non-fulfillment of promises made in 2023, and the strike was only suspended and not called off. Ona said top on the list of the magistrates' demands is the provision of official vehicles and accommodation for magistrates in the state, adding that the association was also pressing for the payment of wardrobe allowance. Ona further said, although no formal memorandum of understanding was signed with the government, it is hoped that the intervention of the chief judge would yield positive results. Anambra State government has called on commercial transportation operators across the state to support the efforts to end the sit-at-home by resuming full operations on Mondays. The Commissioner for Information, Dr. Law Mefo, during a one-day training and retraining program for commercial drivers and riders in the state in Oka on Tuesday said full operation of transporters was needed in ending the sit-at-home in the state, stressing that the crucial role transporters play in reviving the state's economy, especially on Mondays. The commissioner urged transporters to seize this opportunity to support the state government and contribute to the state's economic growth, adding that doing so will not only improve their livelihoods but also create a more vibrant and prosperous Anambra as the state takes back the Mondays. The client event opened the host of the program and the Commissioner for Transport, Patricia Igwe-Buike. The program also keep commercial drivers and riders in the state abreast of basic rules and practices that promote safety on the roads. Lagos State Security commenced area surveillance patrols across the state in collaboration with the Nigeria Police Force Air Wing Command as part of efforts to combat crime in Lagos. According to a statement, the initiative was aimed at strengthening intelligence-led policing and enhancing public safety, adding that the maiden patrol, which took place on Monday, covered both Lagos Island and the mainland in a low-altitude maneuver, demonstrating the reach and responsiveness of the new operation. Ogunsan said the flights were not a one-off exercise, adding that the initiative would serve as a deterrent to criminals, and also commended Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu for supporting the initiative. Speaking after the maiden flights, the Commissioner of Police Air Wing Command, Martin Nwogo, highlighted the potential of area support in security operations. That the patrols are part of ongoing efforts to deploy innovative security interventions while assuring Lagosians that the flights are strictly for public safety and surveillance. The Lagos State Government has intensified its enforcement against open defecation, arresting 46 offenders in a fresh crackdown across major commercial corridors on Lagos Island. The arrests were carried out by the state's anti-open defecation squad during early morning operations, targeting identified sanitation black spots as part of ongoing efforts to enforce environmental laws and protect public health. The Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Lagos Waste Management Authority, Dr. Muyiwa Badegesin, who disclosed this in a statement posted on the state government's official page on Tuesday, said the monitoring operations were conducted around Ebuto Ero and adjoining areas including Apongon, Ishaleko, Marina, CMS, Obalende, and Adeniji Adele, locations known for heavy commercial activity. He also said the enforcement exercise forms part of broader efforts by the state government to eliminate open defecation, safeguard public health, and maintain environmental sanitation standards across the metropolis, and also reiterated that open defecation violates environmental regulations and poses serious health and environmental in densely populated areas. He urged residents and business operators to make use of approved public sanitation facilities and warned that offenders would continue to face arrest and prosecution under the law. About 2 suspected kidnappers who were suspected of being responsible for supplying food, drinks, and other logistics to bandits operating in parts of Ondo State have been arrested. This is coming after the suspects, Abubakar Sindiku and Oliver Oko, were apprehended at Sabo Shango Road and Iledo communities respectively, following intelligence-led operations by the State Police Command's anti-kidnapping unit. During the attack, the assailants also shot a neighbor, Patrick Ilumaro, who was stayed in front of his residence. Ilumaro is currently hospitalized and receiving treatment for gunshot injuries, and in response, residents staged a protest over the weekend, condemning the rising cases of kidnapping and worsening insecurity in the community. Confirming the arrest in a statement issued to journalists in Akure, the police public relations officer, Jimo Abayomi, said the suspects were tracked and were arrested through credible intelligence and technical analyses, and the suspects were apprehended in connection with an ongoing kidnapping investigation in the state, adding that they were already providing useful information to investigators. The command urged members of the public to remain vigilant and continue to provide timely information to security agencies to help curb crime in the state. Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and the Nigeria Police Force have renewed their commitments to interagency collaboration in Kwara State as part of efforts to curb corruption and financial crimes. A statement released via the anti-graft agency's verified social media platforms on Tuesday, the acting zonal director of EFCC Ilorin Zonal Directorate ACE 1, Victoria Ugo Ali, disclosed this when he paid a courtesy visit to the Commissioner of Police, Kwara State Police Command, CP Adekimi Ojo. The visit, which took place at the command's headquarters in Ilorin, was aimed at familiarizing the new zonal director with the police leadership in the state and deepening existing collaboration between the two law enforcement bodies. The visit underscores ongoing efforts by both agencies in Kwara State to strengthen institutional relationships and enhance coordinated responses to economic and financial crimes. Benue State government is seeking approval from the federal government to establish a disarmament, demobilization and reintegration center for repentant local bandits in the state. The Director General of the Commission for Peace and Reconciliation, Josephine Haba, who disclosed this while speaking to journalists in Makurdi, said the initiative is aimed at rehabilitating individuals who by circumstance became foot soldiers for bandits, adding that the state has therefore formally requested the Chief of Defense Staff General Olufemi Oluyede to approve the setting up of the DDRO Center specifically for bandits of Benue region. Haba also said the DDRO Center is a military program certified and funded by the United Nations, adding that its establishment would draw international attention to the state. She added that its operationalization would also increase the deployment of troops in Benue. Haba said the proposed center was expected to be located in Logo local government area, adding that the project would cost millions of naira, and the commission was established in 2022 and became operational in 2023 in response to repeated attacks on Benue communities, stressing that the DDRO initiative was part of a broader effort to build mechanisms to nip frequent conflict in the board. The combination of communal clashes and banditry has contributed to insecurity across the state, prompting the government to explore initiatives such as the DDRO program to rehabilitate repentant bandits and restore peace in affected communities. 2 people were killed in renewed attacks on communities in Apa local government area, Benue State, and the violence occurred in Ediku, Gicho, Olegi, Jamu, and Upogo when suspected armed raiders reportedly invaded the communities. Residents who spoke on condition of anonymity said a pastor returning from church was among those killed during the ambush, and they also alleged that 2 women were raped in a hospital where they are currently receiving treatment. Confirming the attacks, the chairman of Apa local government area, Adams Ochaiga, said the victims were ambushed and killed on Sunday at Eduku Ward 11, while the spokesperson of the Benue State Police Command, DSP Udeme Edet, is yet to speak on the matter at the time of filing this report. Federal government of Nigeria has rejected reports claiming it paid a huge ransom, including the release of militant commanders, to secure the release of school children abducted from St. Mary's Boarding School in Niger State. A statement issued on Tuesday, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, described the allegations as completely false and baseless and a disservice to the professionalism and integrity of Nigeria's security forces. The Rebito followed the reports alleging that the government paid a huge ransom, with figures varying between 2 billion naira overall and up to 40 million naira per head, roughly 7 million naira in total, and the reports claimed the ransom was delivered in cash via helicopter to a Boko Haram commander in Goza, Borno State. It also claimed the deal included the release of 2 militant commanders, a step that would contravene Nigerian laws prohibiting payments to kidnappers or the exchange of detainees in such contexts, stressing that the successful rescue of the pupils carried out without casualties was a result of professionalism, professional intelligence and operation. Idris urged the media to verify facts before publishing speculative reports that could embolden criminals or undermine troop morale. Governor Nasser Idris has pledged to reintroduce soft loans for primary and secondary school teachers across the state for houses, cars, and motorcycles. The governor made the pledge during the inauguration of 12,779 seats of furniture for primary and secondary schools in the state, adding that the furniture sets are for teachers and students. Speaking at the official inauguration ceremony in Benin, Kebbi, the governor said the government of Kebbi will continue to look into the plight of the teachers and also assured that the era of treating classroom teachers as a second-class citizen was over. He pledged the unwavering commitment of his administration to continue to provide a conducive atmosphere for both teaching and learning, and apart from the construction and the renovation of various primary and post-primary schools across Kebbi, the governor said the gesture was part of an urgent effort to ensure that classrooms and offices were well equipped. The government directed that the furniture be shared 50-50 between the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education and Universal Basic Education. Kebbi State chapter of the African Democratic Congress has demanded urgent explanations from the state government and members of the National Assembly following the recent ambush on the convoy of the General Officer commanding 8th Division of the Nigerian Army. Disclosed that the convoy of Major General Banga Kugna came under heavy terrorist fire near Mayama Hill in Mayama local government area, while troops under Operation Fansanyama reportedly repelled the attack and killed 5 terrorists and recovered a cache of weapons, including PKT and AK-47 rifles, ammunition, motorcycles, communication devices, and 840,000 naira in cash. The incident comes amid growing concerns over the activities of the Lakurawa group and recurring attacks on rural communities across parts of Kebbi State, particularly in the forested border areas. The statement issued by Tuesday in Benin, Kebbi and signed by East State Chairman Bala Sufiani. The ADC described the ambush as sobering and alarming, underscoring the fragile security situation in the state, and called on Governor Nasser Idris to provide a comprehensive security briefing to citizens, detailing what the government knew about terrorist activities in the Myanmar axis prior to the attack and what preventive intelligence measures were in place. The opposition party also directed questions to Kebbi's National Assembly members, led by Senator Adamu Aliero, asking what legislative interventions and oversight actions they are taking to strengthen security operations in the state, while the ADC further said the recovery of cash and multiple motorcycles suggested an organized funding and mobility structure behind the attackers, warning that dismantling such networks requires coordinated political, intelligence and community-based strategies. Kano State Governor Abba Kabe Yusuf says anyone who means well for the people of Kano State have no choice but to align himself to the central federal government of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. Governor Yusuf submitted that Kano political gladiators are more united now than ever in its political history. He disclosed this when the Ward and Local Government Congress Committee paid him a courtesy visit on Monday. A statement by Mustafa Mohammed, the Chief Press Secretary to the Kano State Governor Alhaji Abba Kabe Yusuf, said since he and many others decamp to APC, more people keep reuniting while the divided family are also reuniting, and further commended the committee for a well-done job on the wards and local government congresses across the state. Earlier in his remarks, the chairman of the Ward and Local Government Area Congress Committee, Mr. Lantep the Bank, thanked the governor for the compassion and good leadership he played during the sharing formula of the positions, adding that Governor Abba Yusuf is the man of integrity and justice. The Management Commission has commenced ward-level registration and enrollment for the National Identification Number in Jigawa State. The state coordinator, Mr. Aminu Jakada, who disclosed this on Tuesday in Duse, said the commission began the nationwide exercise on February 16 as part of efforts to enhance access to registration services across the country, and the development followed a presidential directive mandating the commission to extend NIN enrollment to ward levels nationwide. According to him, President Bola Tinubu directed NIMC to increase the number of people enrolled in the national database, adding that the exercise focuses on women and children, noting that many of them are yet to register for NIN in the state. Chakada said the enrollment is being conducted free of charge and urged Nigerians to report extortion to security agencies or NIMC offices, warning that erring personnel will be sanctioned, and also urged local authorities as well as community and religious leaders to sensitize residents on the importance of NIN and mobilizer participation in the exercise. President Bola Tinubu has urged governors across the country to pursue policies that prioritize the poor and underprivileged, stressing the need for compassion and inclusive development, and also urged them to tolerate everybody and build structures. The president spoke while hosting governors for the breaking of the faith fast at the presidential villa, that the simultaneous observance of Ramadan and Lent underscore humanity to the president. Information and strategy by Onanuga Tinubu said years of abstinence and penitence offer leaders an opportunity to reflect on the plight of citizens and design programs that directly impact livelihoods, particularly reducing poverty and empowering young people. President Tinubu welcomed Kano State Governor Abba Kabe Yusuf to the State House and also commended Borno State Governor outreach to both Muslims and Christians, and also expressed optimism about the economy and reiterated his administration's commitment to tackling insecurity. Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma, who represented the chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum, commended President Tinubu for promoting national unity amid religious and ethnic tensions during the interfaith gathering, and also described the simultaneous fasting as divinely inspired. President accepted the resignation of the Inspector General of Police and approved the appointment of Tunji Disu as acting Inspector General of Police after able to contender his resignation letter on Tuesday, citing pressing family considerations. While a statement issued on Tuesday by his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, the president received the letter earlier on Tuesday and expressed appreciation for his service to the nation. He also commended Ebetokun's decades of distinguished service to the Nigeria Police Force and the nation, acknowledging his nation, professionalism and steadfast commitment to strengthening internal security architecture during his tenure, adding that in compliance with the provisions of the Police Act 2020, the president will soon convene a meeting of the Nigeria Police Council to formally consider this week's appointment as substantive Inspector General of Police, after which his name information. The President reaffirmed his administration's commitment to national security, strengthening institutional capacity, and ensuring that the Nigerian police force remains professional and fully equipped to discharge its constitutional responsibilities. Senators ordered as decried the poor funding of the labor and employment sector during a budget presentation to the appropriations committee. Chairman of the Labour Committee, Senator Dickett Blank, said the ministry and its agencies have a proposed allocation of about 183.6 billion naira, but face serious funding gaps, and also warned that limited funds are affecting key duties, including factory inspections and infrastructure, noting that some agencies lack enough capital, project, and operational support to function effectively.
Most of the capital you see here, they are coming from constituency projects. The main ministry and the main agencies do not have sufficient capital projects. In fact, particularly the Michael Omodo School in Ilorin is unfenced. And people come in and out. We have a request extra that if that institute will be fenced to protect even the land and also to protect the students at insecure period like that, we'll bring an attachment for that request.
Vice Chairman Senator Tahe Monguno said proper for peace, job creation and economic growth, stressing that the sector must not be neglected.
They wish to agree with me that the adequate funding of the employment, labor and productivity sector is very important for the attainment of industrial harmony in the country, with all its attendant effect of bringing about security, generating employment and productivity, which will into the growth of the economy. And
this Odu Institute of Labor Studies is supposed to be a revenue generating institute. And I think if we provide the necessary infrastructure there, this institute will be able to generate a lot of revenue from federal ministries and various MDAs. We can even make it compulsory for MDAs, ministries to send personnel, to send staff there for training on an annual basis.
If we want the nation to move, Federal Ministry of Labor, Employment and Productivity must get a lot of budget for training, for employment, for all the stuff that will keep the nation moving.
National Assembly has postponed the resumption of plenary from Tuesday, February 24, 2026. A statement issued by the clerk to the National Assembly, Kamoru Ogunlana, attributed the shift to the need for committees to conclude ongoing budget defense sessions. The statement also informed distinguished senators and honorable members of the National Assembly that the resumption for Tuesday, 24th February 2026 has been postponed. The postponement comes amid the legislators' consideration of the 2026 appropriation bill, with several committees still engaging ministries, departments, and agencies in budget defense, while both the Senate and House of Representatives are now expected to reconvene at 11 a.m. on March 5 to continue plenary proceedings. The leadership expressed regret for any inconvenience the change may cause and urged members to take note of the new date. Ex-Vice President Atiku called on the federal government to provide clarity on the detention of a former Cardinal Governor Nasser El-Rufai amid reports of health complications and restricted access to families and lawyers. A statement by Atiku described the situation as a matter of grave concern to his family, friends, and associates, and allegations by Muyiwa Adekeya, a media aide to El-Rufai, that the former governor suffered a nosebleed while in EFCT custody. Adekeye said El-Rufai was interrogated and later granted administrative bail, but remained in detention as the legal team sought a variation of the bail conditions, and further alleged that on February 17, one of his wives was not allowed to deliver his mail, but was asked to pass it to him through one of the commission's personnel. Reacting to the development, article stressed that if the authorities cannot guarantee his health and fundamental rights, the lawful and human course of action is to grant him bail without delay, adding that selective prosecution creates the perception of partisanship, saying the continued detention of El-Rufai under unclear circumstances raises serious questions about motive and the government will be held accountable. 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, and former national chairman of the APC, John Odigye Eyegun, were reportedly attacked by gunmen in Benin City, Edo State on Tuesday. The incident occurred at the residence of Odigye Eyegun shortly after a political event in the state capital, while a video circulating online captures the aftermath of the incident, showing several vehicles and the estate gate riddled with bullet holes. Speaking in the footage, Peter Obi said the attack occurred shortly after they left the ADC headquarters in the state, while the national coordinator of the Obedient Movement, Yunus Tanko, said the attackers followed the group from the ADC secretariat to Odigye Eyegun's residence, where they opened fire at the gate and riddled several official vehicles with bullets. Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has fixed March 24, 2026 for ruling on a joinder application in the suit seeking the deregistration of the African Democratic Zenith Labour Party and Action Alliance alleged non-compliance with constitutional requirements. The development instituted by the incorporated trustees of the National Forum of Former Legislators against the Independent National Electoral Commission, the Attorney General of the Federation, and the affected political parties, while the originating summons initially targeted only the ADC for deregistration, but was later amended to include the other parties whose continued existence the plaintiffs contend breaches the provisions of the 1999 Constitution as amended. At Tuesday's proceedings before Justice Peter Lifu, counsel declared appearances for the parties, except for Action Alliance, which had two different lawyers from separate law firms claiming to represent it, and it was the action that followed. Justice Lifu asked whether both counsel were acting together, and they responded negatively, insisting that they had separate mandates, and the judge directed them to reconcile their positions, warning that the court would do the needful if they failed to resolve the representation issue. In another application, counsel to the Accord Party, Musibao Adetumbi San, sought leave of court to file a further counter-affidavit, in opposition to the amended originating summons joining the party in the suit, while counsel to the plaintiff Yakubu Abdullahi Rubasan opposed the application, arguing that no new facts were introduced in the amended originating summons to warrant a further counter-affidavit. Ruba described the application as incompetent and unknown to the law, urging the court to refuse the request, and the court subsequently adjourned the matter to March 24 for ruling on the joinder application and other pending motions. Office of the Attorney General of the Federation has criminal charge for over alleged forgery. The withdrawal was declared on Tuesday at the High Court of This is coming after the Director of Public Prosecution of the Federation, Rotimi Oyedepo-San, informed Justice Peter Kekemeke that the Attorney General of the Federation had decided to take a holistic look at the case and determine the most appropriate course of action. And following the application, which was not opposed by the defense team, led by Paul Erokoro-San, the court struck out a 3-count charge against Ozokeme. Ozokeme had been arraigned on allegations bordering on forgery and other related offences in the case initially instituted by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, while the ICPC filed a 3-count criminal charge against Ozokeme at the FCT High Court in Abuja, accusing him of alleged fraud, forgery, and use of false documents in connection with the disputed property in London. Prosecutors allege that the senior lawyer knowingly received the property located at 79 Randall Avenue, London, NW2 7XX, which he claimed was gifted to him, and then allegedly used a forged Nigerian passport in support of that claim, and the provisions of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act and the FCT Penal Code. Justice Kekemeke granted the application and struck out the charge. Archbishop of the Catholic Diocese of Cardinal Matthew Ndangozo has been elected president of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria. The Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria is the highest body of the Catholic Church in Nigeria, coordinating spiritual leadership and social engagement, serving as a moral voice while uniting bishops, clergy, the faithful, and the broader Nigerian society. And Dangoso was elected alongside other executive members at the ongoing 2026 first plenary meeting of Catholic bishops in Abuja, and he succeeds Lucius Ogoji, Archbishop of Owerri, whose 4-year tenure expires this February. A statement on Tuesday by Secretary General of the Catholic Secretariat of Nigeria, Michael Banjo, said the newly elected officials will be formally presented at the closing ceremony of the plenary on Wednesday. European Union and the Federal Republic of Nigeria have formally opened negotiations for a bilateral science and technology cooperation agreement, marking a major step towards strengthening research collaboration, accelerating innovation, and deepening strategic cooperation under the EU's Global Gateway Strategy. The inception meeting held at Nigeria's Federal Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology, Abuja, signals a decisive move to build a stronger innovation ecosystem, and the negotiations come ahead of the second EU-Nigeria Science and Innovation Day scheduled for 24 February 2026 in Lagos. He also said the initiative reflects the global gateway approach of building sustainable, mutually beneficial partnerships that support local capacity, strengthen knowledge systems, and deliver long-term development impact. While Nigeria's Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Kingsley Ude, described the negotiations as a defining moment for Nigeria's research ecosystem. The process marks the start of a strategic long-term collaboration built on shared ambition, mutual benefit, and a common vision for innovation-led growth. Federal government says the 2025 agreement signed with the Academic Staff Union of Universities is specifically designed to strengthen autonomous safeguards and ensure long-term stability in Nigeria's tertiary education sector. The Director General Bureau of Public Service Reforms that made disclosure during a working visit to Yakubu Gowon University, formerly University of Abuja, in Gwagwalada, Abuja. A statement issued by Head of Strategic Communication, BPSR, Mr. Ali Omar, in Abuja on Tuesday said the government has consistently increased university funding over the years, boosted by infrastructural interventions from the Tertiary Education Trust Fund and other federal initiatives, adding that while academic and administrative duties independently, to foster innovation, they must operate within defined governance frameworks. He further said the government-approved payroll system was implemented to enhance transparency and verify personnel records across federal institutions, while the recent salary adjustments for senior lecturers and professors reflect the government's broader reform agenda aimed at repositioning the education sector for national development. And now, we'll go on a short break, and when we return, we'll continue the rest of our stories. Stay tuned.
From the line, the ocean, to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring
Now to some business news. President Bola Tinubu's recent executive order on oil revenue remittance. The committee was by the President to oversee and coordinate the effective implementation of the new directive on oil and gas revenue remittance. Of the Union, Festus Osifo, disclosed this during his opening remarks at the National Executive Council meeting of the association held in Abuja, and expressing optimism that the dialogue with government officials would compromise. Osifo also said the union had already engaged government representatives over the weekend and on Monday, adding that the meeting with the presidential committee would further discussions aimed at protecting workers and ensuring stability in the oil and gas sector. The union leader said discussions had begun to shift from legal interpretations to the practical impact of the directive on workers and the industry, adding that the management fee was critical to funding the personnel involved in supervising production sharing contracts, and the directive could affect hundreds of workers attached to production sharing contracts within the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. Federal government is deepening negotiations to secure up to $7 billion in strategic investment from China across critical sectors of the economy. The Minister of Finance, in a statement issued after a meeting in Abuja, said the Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, received a high-level delegation from GCL Group in Abuja, led by Oji Uzo Kalu, as Nigeria moves to secure up to $5.7 billion in strategic investments across power, mining, and industrial manufacturing. According to the statement, the proposed funding is expected to cover energy generation, mineral development, and industrial production. The proposals include large-scale energy generation, local mineral processing, and new factories aimed at boosting jobs, exports, and value addition. It further said the talks align with the country's wider economic strategy, particularly the transition from raw exports to domestic production, with emphasis on strengthening energy security, industrial capacity, and long-term economic growth, adding that the engagement is consistent with the administration's industrialization and economic reform agenda. Minister Festus Keyamo has inspected the level of destruction caused by Monday's ravaging fire and has assured the demolition Old Terminal, while victims who were hospitalized responding to treatment at a health facility in Lagos. He said the terminal, which was slated for refurbishment, will be pulled down, and a temporary terminal from where the few airlines operating from the facility will now operate at advanced stage, and while the building had already been marked for the redevelopment and operational losses. Kayama also said evacuation of personnel and agencies from the facility had already been underway before the incident, adding that the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria had concluded arrangements constructed by a civil engineering construction company. The minister, however, expressed deep concern with loss of vital aviation infrastructure, particularly meteorological and operational equipment, the upper floors of the building, and also recalled that a ravaging fire disrupted operations at the old terminal of Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, on Monday, triggering diversions, compounding travel delays, and operational airlines. Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria has reduced interest rates to 25%, and it is the second time the MPC would be under the current leadership of the Apex Bank. Olayemika also said the decision on the end of the committee's 304th meeting in Abuja, which marks the second rate cut under the current leadership of the Apex Bank, following a similar 50 basis point reduction in September 2025 and a hold at the November 2025 meeting. Cardoso said the decision was based on the balanced evaluation of risks to the outlook, which indicates that the ongoing disinflation trajectory would continue, largely supported by the lagged transmission of previous monetary tightening, sustained exchange rate stability, and enhanced food supply. He also said this headline inflation eased to 15.10% in January 2026, 15% in December 2025, marking the 11th consecutive month of year-on-year decline. The CBN governor also disclosed that the next MPC meeting is scheduled for May 19 and 20. Association of Power Generation Bond reports the federal government's power sector legacy debt company GenCo from 6.5 trillion naira to 2 billion naira. Executive Officer of APGC, Dr. Joy Ogaji, made a clarification in a statement describing the reports as false and misleading, adding that the Tinubu administration slashed the 6.8 trillion naira after conducting an audit of the sector's financial obligations. Ogaji, however, firmly rejected the report, insisting that no such verified or final settlement figure has been communicated to GenCos, and also challenged the presidency to publicly release any audit findings of the figure. Ogaji further said the 6.5% was not arbitrarily determined, stressing that it reflects documented electricity generation and supply records. Rural electrification secured a $7,000 grant from the ECOWAS Commission to electrify 15 using voltaic systems. The funding support followed the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the agency and the ECOWAS Commission under the regional office, the Regional Off-Grid Electricity Access Project. According to the statement by the agency, the agreement provides grant funding from ECOWAS for the electrification of public health and education facilities located in the Federal Capital Territory, Niger State, and Nasarawa State. Following the signing of the MOU with ECOWAS, the Rural Electrification Agency also entered into a separate agreement with the Niger State government to facilitate state-level collaboration and co-financing for selected project sites within the states that marked the formal commencement of Nigeria's pilot implementation phase under the Regional Off-Grid Electricity Access Project, a regional initiative bank to expand off-grid electricity access across West Africa and the Sahel. Under the agreement, ECOWAS will provide a grant of $700,000 to support the installation of solar photovoltaic systems in rural health centers and schools, and the project will be implemented by the REA as technical and financial implementing agency. And now, police spokesman in public under an anti-gay law among the highest in the world. Uganda Act imposes penalties for elections, while aggravated by the thing that requested a complaint from neighbors in the northwestern city of Arua, about 450 kilometers north of the capital, Kampala, and have been held in detention without legal representation since February 18. Human rights advocate Frank Mugashi condemned the arrest on X, saying it underscores the grim reality faced by victims under the anti-gay law, adding that Uganda is a conservative and predominantly Christian country in East Africa. Its anti-gay law triggered outrage among rights campaigners and condemnation from the United Nations and Western countries, while the World Bank suspended funding to the country, although in mid-2025. United States House Committee on Foreign Affairs has officially submitted to the report detailing the recommendations on addressing the question of Christians in Nigeria. This is coming after Trump, while designating Nigeria as a country of particular concern, mandated Congress the Appropriations Committee Tom Cole into the alert of community by more confirmed the submission of the report on his X handle after a delegation on the fact-finding mission to Nigeria internally displaced persons camps in Benue, teams of terrorism and meeting government officials led by the National Security and the findings of the report stem from interviews with experts, a roundtable, 2 on-the-ground assessments through bipartisan congressional delegations to Nigeria and close partnership with the administration, and it was expedient for the Nigerian government to seize the opportunity to deepen and strengthen its relationship with the United States. The report details steps to impose accountability measures, counter radical Islamic terrorism, and outlines a plan to work in coordination with the Nigerian government to ensure security for all Nigerians, while the report details recommendations including establishing a bilateral U.S.-Nigeria security agreement to protect vulnerable Christians and smart jihadist networks, withholding certain U.S. funds, spending demonstrable action by the Nigerian government to stop violence against Christians. It also contains implementing sanctions and visa restrictions against individuals and groups responsible for or complicit in religious persecution, providing technical support to the Nigerian to curb violence by armed Fulani militias, demanding the repeal of Sharia and blasphemy laws, and working with international partners including France, Hungary, and United Kingdom. And here now is ATN Sports News. Senegal's Prime Minister has bewailed prison sentence convicted over a pitched invasion during an Supporters were detained in Morocco after the Africa Cup of 2019. They are accused of violence against security forces and of causing damage, and the court handed them sentences ranging to 1 year fines worth up to $45. Soko said Senegal could, if necessary, activate a bilateral agreement allowing the mutual transfer of convicts, while Senegal won the CAN final 1-0 in Rabat after a chaotic match in which Senegalese supporters tried to storm the pitch and threw projectiles. And now entertainment news. Actor and content creator is in complication of drug in the hospital. I beg your pardon. Montana made this known in an Instagram post on Monday night, and the development came 2 days after he moved into a new apartment for him by the public. Okomesi, whose real name is Bamidele Tokbesh, solicited financial assistance over 2 weeks ago after suffering from sickness that left him homeless, and narrating how Okomesi was rejected by different hospitals before finally being taken back to the first hospital. Okomesi is currently in a coma, while urging Nigerians to put him in. Also begged for financial assistance for his treatment. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we leave, a quick look through our major stories. Assembly confirms Peter Akpai as Bayelsa State Deputy Governor. Names Tunji Disu, Acting Inspector General. Senators reps shift plenary. Pengasan to meet Presidential Committee Wednesday. Police arrest 2 Ugandan women for kissing in public. Senegal criticizes jail sentence for football fans in Morocco, and actor Okomesi in coma over drugs complication. I am Favor Chikwashe. Thank you for watching on social media platforms on Twitter and X as Atlantic TV Network, YouTube at Atlantic Network, and on Instagram as Atlantic TV Network. And Unity are the pathways to have a wonderful night rest.
The board, management, and staff of Morrison Media Group presents the 2026 anniversary celebration of Morrison Media Group. Theme: Media's role in shaping social change, addressing inequities, and empowering voices. Chairman Alex Ndudi Enebele, FSM, President, Institute of Strategic Management of Nigeria, Chartered. Keynote speaker, Professor Armstrong Idachaba, Professor of Media and Broadcasting Communication. Panelist, Professor Chris Ochonogo, Immediate Past Head of Department, Journalism and Media Studies, University of Port Harcourt. Dr. Ijoma Tobosia, Secretary, NUJ, River State. Dr. Sarah Joe, University Orator and Faculty of Communication and Media, River State University, Port Harcourt. Dr. Ibiere Koki, Ignatius Aju University of Education, Rumolomini, Port Harcourt. Chief host, Dr. Chinyere Igwe, Esquire, Chairman, Morrison Group. Date, Tuesday, 10th March 2026. Venue, Gate Place Hotel, Kilometer 5, East West Road, St. Obirikwere Flyover, Rumosi, Port Harcourt. Time, 10 a.m. For more information, please call Kainde Paul Obofadi, 081-063-41777. or Samuel Ajinwo at 090-454-00744. Signed, Management.